Hi, welcome to New Hampshire Politics with John Burt. And my name is Ivan Beliveau, and I'm the guest host. And what we would like to do is talk about the upcoming election because John is running for Selectman. And I think it makes a huge difference in Goffstown how that turns out. And I think it makes a big difference. So John has asked me, and I've absolutely agreed to come in and direct some questions to John, because what we want to do in the next 55 minutes is give you a clear understanding of who John is, what he stands for, and what I'd like to do now is shut up and welcome John Burt. Hi, John.
Hi, Ivan. Well, thank you very much for coming on and being the host of my own show, I guess. It's kind of funny.
You're welcome.
Doing that. But yeah, no, I want to get the message out why I'm running, and that's why, I had a previous show a couple weeks ago where Representative Richard Meany, and he came in and he,
Sure.
He did it, and
Yeah.
and I think you'll give a different perspective. I got a lot of positive feedback on the other show, and I'm sure I will on this one.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. And being positive and presenting positive things, I think that's really important. Stay upbeat. This is not about criticizing, condemning, or complaining. This is just saying who you are and who you stand for.
Absolutely. Yeah, I believe in running a clean race. When people call me and ask me, John, could we put a letter to the editor in for you? Do you mind that? And
Yeah.
I say, as long as you keep it, clean.
Yeah.
Because, we don't need, the, what do I want to call them? The high school games, remember, the kids not getting along. We should just present, what we do, what we want to do for Goffstown.
Yeah. Well, have you got a stump speech? A minute or two. Who is John Burt? I mean, some of your background. Is there anyone who doesn't know who John Burt is?
Yeah.
But just in case.
Yeah. Well, who I am is I'm, I always tell everybody I'm 53 years old. I have a beautiful wife. I just am so blessed with my family. I cannot tell you that because she just supports me so much. To be a state representative, and that is not an easy job.
No.
A lot of times it's a thankless job. When, there was a couple months where, I asked my wife, I never tell her anything, but, I said, don't answer the phone because, I was getting a lot of calls with unhappy people when we were passing good legislation, for the state of New Hampshire, and people supported us on that. But then the opposition, there was a few that, but, I have 6 grandchildren. I just love visiting them.
Yeah.
And, when I was 50 years old, that's what got me into politics. I just saw the America going the wrong way in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't the America that I grew up in.
Yeah. Understood.
And so what I got thinking is, I'll get into politics and hopefully I can make a difference. And I think that's what I want to do here for Goffstown is I just want to, put Goffstown in a good light. It's a great town. My wife was born and raised here. Her maiden name is Santonge. Her father was born and raised here. Her grandparents moved here. And we can make Goffstown even better.
So you've been a state rep. Tell me a little bit. I mean, what does that look like? What's involved with being a state rep? I mean, how wealthy does that make you?
It doesn't. You get paid $100 a year, and then they take $18 out for the license plate if you want it, and I do. I figured if I'm going to be a state rep, I want everybody to know. That way people talk to me with the state plate on there. They charge $15 for this fancy badge. So, that $100 gets chewed up pretty quick.
You have to pay for your own badge and license plate. And,
yeah. And what's really funny is on my badge here is, I don't know if you can see it, I still have Ware. My first term, I was Goffstown Ware.
Oh, yes. Sure.
And then they redistrict
Right.
us. And I'm thinking, you know what? This is a nice badge.
Yeah.
Why throw that away because there's one wrong, town on there? And, Ware people still like me. So I said, I'll just keep wearing it.
Well, what I get out of that is you have a huge commitment. This can't be about money, being state rep. It can't be about money at all.
It is not.
That's out of just a commitment. And
Yeah.
that's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you how you show up for me, and that, because I've watched you over the years here, and I remember an event a number of years ago where you went against what a lot of people might call the powers that be. And you decided, and I don't know whatever possessed you to do this. And well, let me tell you the story first, and then I'll say how you literally show up. But you rented the Radisson Hotel on Elm Street in Manchester, and decided you were going to run a governor's debate.
Yes.
I mean, whatever possessed, because that took a lot of money and courage and everything else. And it came out hugely successful.
Yes.
And probably it had an impact on the governor's race.
It did.
I think, but it also, you fired a gun across the bow of a lot of people because they were really upset. I mean, you got sued, and there was a lot of animosity.
There was, yeah.
And so how did that end up? How did that lawsuit end up? How did that, what was your recollection of that whole experience?
Well, what happened is in my first term, back in 2010, I put on 2 debates back then, and they were huge success.
Yeah.
My first debate, I had news media, well, all my debates, I have news media from all over New England.
Yeah.
The AP press shows up. I mean, it's a huge event. The one at the Radisson happened, it was July, I think it was July 1st or somewhere's in there, 2012. And I was sent a letter a couple weeks prior saying that if I put this debate on, that I would be sued. And I'm like, what? And my wife's like, John, we can't afford a lawsuit. And I said, and I went ahead and did the debate anyways. We had over 550 people attended the event. We sold the Radisson out. I mean, it was a huge success. The AP press was there. A lot of news media was there. And 2 weeks later, I get a paper saying I was being sued. And it was over a trade name and also doing my debates. They did not want me doing my debates.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there was an establishment there. There were the powers to be, my expression.
Yep.
And you fired a shot across their bow, and you got their attention. And who's John Burt? Who's this John Burt? We have this right or whatever.
Yeah.
So what did the judge decide in the lawsuit?
Well, I had a great attorney, Paul Kafori. He showed up, and I mean, he was unbelievable professionally. Very, I don't want to say very expensive, but he wasn't cheap. And luckily, I was very surprised on this, Ivan. People donated money to this from all over the country when they found out about this, because really what was happening is my, First Amendment rights were being squashed, and people believe in me, and they said, my God, we need to help John. Yeah. And I asked friends to help, and they did. And so it came out good. And at the end, what happened is the judge said, case dismissed. We shouldn't even be here. Unfortunately in New Hampshire, I can't sue the person that sues you. You can't recover your money. So I'm out that money, but luckily people did help and donate.
Yeah, but I think it's an excellent example of who you are. I mean, it took courage to take that on. And I've stated that I'm going to vote for you for 3 reasons.
Well, thank you.
John Burt is fearless is reason number 1. Reason number 2 is John Burt is fearless. And reason number 3 is John Burt is fearless.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be fearless. You have to have huge courage to take that on. And this is just not small town politics. I mean, you put a lot on the line for this. And I think that's huge. I think that's really huge that we have somebody willing to spend this amount of time and energy. Talk about risk-taking. I think that's incredible.
Well, that's it. Not to pound too much on the lawsuit, but I mean, they had a team of lawyers at first, and my wife's looking, going, John, what are we going to do? And I said, let's take them on. And she's like, well, we can't. Yeah. And it was really funny. If you don't mind, it just popped in my head.
It's your show.
Well, it's just so funny. I love telling this little story. just before my first debate, and this was May, I think, in 2010. There might have been, 11. I think it was 10. And, I was having a senatorial debate with Kelly Ayotte, Jim Bender, Ovid Lamontagne, and Bill Binney were there. The place was just jam-packed. Well, a week before that, we're eating dinner, the phone rings, and I look over, and I'm not going to answer it because I'm having dinner with my wife. And all of a sudden, up on the caller ID, it said C-SPAN, Washington, D.C.
Wow.
And I'm looking, going, huh? So I look at my wife, and I said, I have to answer this. So I picked it up, and it was C-SPAN in Washington, D.C. And I'm like, oh, my God, C-SPAN. And they said they wanted to come and air it.
Wow.
And they said, the problem is we need a satellite truck.
Mm.
And I said, okay, yep. Can you get us a satellite truck? And I said, yes, sir, I can. And I took his information down, and we talked a couple days. And he said, this is what we want to do, how we want to set up. But then when I hung up the phone, my wife looks at me, and she goes, John, we don't have a satellite truck. And I said, I know. What are we going to do? I said, I don't know. But you know what? I called a bunch of my friends, and I found a satellite truck out of Boston. Wow. That was willing to come up. Now, the unfortunate part was at the end, C-SPAN, it just didn't fit their schedule, so they didn't show. So I was like, darn, that really would have helped me jump the ladder if C-SPAN showed.
Yeah, but I mean, that's extraordinary to take it on to that level. I mean,
yeah.
So now Granite Institute of Politics
Yep, Granite State Institute of Politics is my company name.
is your company, and you're free to run any debates you want at any level.
And we have several in the works right now, for this upcoming election.
Well, let's talk now. Obviously, you're running for Selectman of Goffstown. I
Yes.
mean, so Goffstown must matter to you a great deal.
It does.
Goffstown matters are really important.
Yeah.
And so, what would possess you to want to run to be selectman?
Well, I think, a lot of things have possessed me to do it. The biggest, number one thing is the support that I'm receiving from the community.
Mm-hmm.
I had so many people ask me, John, please, the good work that you've done, with my own company, with my political company, and then the good work that I have done, at the State House, would you please consider a run for selectman? And part of it came out, not all of it, but part of it came out because of the Planned Parenthood fiasco, as I call it.
Yeah.
A lot of it came there. And, I think, I know I'm going to win next Tuesday. I mean, I just have a good feeling. I'm going door to door now. I'm trying to meet as many as people. And, I apologize for the people that I don't get to. And I mean to get to everybody. But, there's just so many hours in a day. I really believe the voters are going to reward me as they have in the past.
Along with being fearless, I would certainly agree, and it's my observation of you that you are tireless. Tireless in terms of getting out the vote, going out door to door, and being willing to talk to anyone. And my sense is that you're a fiscal conservative. You don't want to spend.
That's the other reason. Yeah, that's part of it. Our taxes keep going up and up and up. And now they have this new scheme, which I've learned from the state, and that's one of the advantages of me being a state representative.
Sure.
I see what's coming down the pike.
Yes.
And what I'm being told is what some of these communities, and Goffstown's one of them, is they said, look, have a balanced budget because, the taxpayers are getting pretty upset out there. But then, Ivan, they're saying, have a bunch of warrant articles. And this year we got 31 or 32, 33 warrant articles. So, yes, we have a balanced budget if that's all that passed. But if the warrant articles pass, our taxes are going to go up again.
Yeah.
In some of those warrant articles, like the library, not to pick on the library as I do sometimes, but to paint the library, that should not be a warrant article. That should be in the budget.
Yeah. Got it.
It's given the taxpayers the wrong impression. They're looking, going, oh, this is okay. Oh, well, we have to paint the library. Well, yes, but it needs to be in the budget.
Yeah.
I'm all for painting the library in the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. Well, one of the little thing, and if it's in the budget, I don't have to explain it to you, but I mean, we're an SB2 community, and what that means is it's a bottom line budget.
Yes.
So if it's in the budget, anything that's in the budget, any vehicle, any line item, whatever, if the governing body, if the town or the schools want to spend it, they can.
Absolutely.
Anything they want. So if they, just like your house, oh, I got to fix this, that's great, go fix it. But the money has to come out of some other line item.
Absolutely.
So,
Well, the other thing too is that, with the state, there's the budget. There's no warrant articles.
yeah,
With my home, there's the budget. I don't have warrant articles on the side that I can just draw money out of.
right.
In my company, there's a budget. That's it. I'm sure you work on a budget. You don't have warrant articles on the side to do budgetary items.
No, I can't, no. And the companies I worked for, and certainly my own house, my expenses are driven by what I call the top line, revenues.
Yes.
I spend what I can take in.
Yeah.
Period. End of game. There's no this, that, or I can't raise taxes on anyone,
Yeah.
and I can't print money in the basement. So,
Or at least not legally.
only the federal government has that little monopoly.
Yeah, they do.
And we'll talk about that later too. I could probably say a couple things about that, but let's stay at the state.
Yep.
So, all right. So the state has a budget. They spend a lot of money, and some of the money comes from the federal government. Some come from general revenues. But what would you say if somebody had said to you that, well, it was because of your actions, money ended up being downshifted to Goffstown?
Yeah, I've heard.
you-
Yeah, I've heard that. I've read it in the paper. There was a letter to the editor about me downshifting money, or a select group of representatives downshifted, not just
Right.
me. That is totally untrue. I wish they would stop saying that, because for one, it's not true. When that downshifted, what they're talking about is the school retirement. Matter of fact, I've never voted for downshifting, not once, and I never will. What they're talking about passed in 2009 is the retirement. They said we're going to wipe out the retirement, what the state pays for the retirement. It's going to go to zero. And I think at the time it was 25 or 30%. Well, that's where we ended up with that $700,000 bill a couple years later.
Right.
I was elected in 2010. I wasn't even there. So how could I have voted for something I was not there? Now, I did look, and in most of I think all of our representatives voted against that downshift, and that were representatives at the time.
Yeah.
But there was enough Democrat representatives, because it was controlled by Democrats, and they needed that revenue, so they passed it. And that's where that downshifting happened, Ivan.
Well, this pension funding, is a subject at all levels, at the federal level.
Yeah.
If you live in Detroit, it's a heavy subject.
It is. Well,
It's
they're bankrupt.
they're bankrupt.
Yeah.
On paper, Chicago, New York, L.A., there's a large number. Camden, New Jersey. I mean, they just keep reeling off these communities that, for whatever reason, they are underfunded in the pension fund. If the fund isn't earning 8%, if the money in fact isn't there, not the right amounts, or if it's in the general revenue replaced with a bond, there's lots of things that are wrong with that. So it's
Well,
almost too
our state retirement right now is about $5 billion in the hole.
Yeah,
That's with a B.
yeah,
And right now, we are earning good money on our interest, yet it's in my eyes, it's fake money. It's not true earnings. They're saying, oh, look, we're earning 8%. Well, you add the inflation and the other stuff, and I think we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
That's really not true money.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned inflation. I mean, and printing presses in the basement, and that is one of the problems on a national level. I mean, you can think our country is spending about $1.50 for every dollar that comes in.
Wow.
I mean, that is a definition, and it's complicated. I don't want to get too far into it, but I mean, we use debt as money.
Yep.
And the banking system has a way of printing money from nothing, is the simplest way of saying it. But that devalues money. And when the currency is devalued. Now think of it from a banker's point of view. They create money, they loan it out, and they make interest on something they created from nothing.
Yes.
And they do it on a global basis because in many countries what's been true for a long time is that if somebody buys food or oil around the world, they have to use an American dollar.
Yes.
Well, the American dollar we print.
Yep.
It costs us nothing. So we get something for nothing. Now the world is a little upset with that. The bankers are extraordinarily happy with that because they take the money, they earn interest. But the dollar loses its purchasing power, so our prices go up, sand, salt. We think we're rich when the stock market goes up and our house prices goes up. But if that is just a phenomena, because the dollar is losing purchasing power, then we all lose.
Yeah.
And that freight train is going down the tracks, and it doesn't look good. And me just say one thing to explain it maybe a little further, because Senator Lou D'Alessandro, Finance Committee and Ways and Means Committee, got in front of the town deliberative session on February 6th, and I want to read this. This particular deliberative session, you can go to the town and look up GTV and find this actual transcript of the tape. So I'm reading right off the tape. It's 22 minutes and 30 seconds into it. But what Senator Lou D'Alessandro said was, without the benefit of grants from outside, the state couldn't survive. Only $2 billion of our $10.7 billion budget is general fund revenue. Now, you know, I don't know fully what that means, but what it says is that, how I interpret that is that if the federal government is in trouble and is not going to downshift money to the state, then we're going to be in trouble.
Yes.
And if the state is in trouble, then they're going to downshift automatically more expenses to the town. So I think your fiscal conservatism, your ideas about being fiscally conservative are important. And it would certainly make a lot of sense that we have to spend within our means.
Absolutely we do.
But there I go ranting again. It's
Well,
your show.
but it's true. We do. And, you know, I think he's taken, Senator D'Alessandro's taken the words out of content.
Yep.
You know, there's no way that we only generate $2 billion for our budget, you know, locally. You know, we have, you know, the business enterprise tax, you know, the rooms and meals, the cigarette tax, the beer tax, the alcohol tax, you know, the state real estate tax. I mean, you know, there's a lot of taxes. The road tax, that adds up to more than $2 billion. I mean, do we need the federal government for like the reimbursement on the Medicaid? Yes, we do have to have that.
Yeah.
They're supposed to pay 45, I think it is, or 40%, don't quote me on that. For our education, I think they currently pay 17%. That's it. And now we're going to get into this expanded Medicaid, which we do not need. I mean, it's not good for the state. That it's probably going to guarantee an income tax down the road because the federal government has promised us 90%. I think the first couple of years is 100%, and then 90%. When have they ever gave us the true amount of money that we ever need?
Yeah. For me, I believe this is a correct statement. Medicaid and the government urges, and the state has every intention. When it's Medicaid, it's considered welfare.
Yes.
And they will put a lien on your house.
They will. Yep.
And that means that your heirs are not going to get it. The state is going to get it because the state has every intention of getting reimbursed for this quote-unquote welfare. So that, you have to be careful. That's a separate reason why Medicaid is tricky.
Well, in the true, if you look at the full, if you get away from the mainstream media and actually look at the bill, we take care of our truly needy. And Ivan, I am all for helping the truly needy.
Sure.
What this is going to allow, it's going to allow a certain small segment of the population, our young people, to jump on this because they're making no money right now.
Yeah.
They're going to jump on this, and then there's going to be no incentive to be like you or me and work hard to better ourselves and start a company or stay with a company, that pays you well. It's going to de-incentivize the incentives for our young people.
Wow.
And that is what upsets me, and that's why I vote against this.
Yeah. Let's go back to in town, Goffstown itself, things that matter in Goffstown. And do you have a position on balanced budgets in town? But I mean, the actual budget plus all warrant articles lumped together. I mean, what do you think of the importance of a balanced budget?
Oh, absolutely, we need a balanced budget. And that's what is dangerous about these warrant articles is that it is given the illusion to the public, that is busy raising their family and trying to make a living. They look and they go, oh, they're telling us we got a balanced budget. But then we have all these warrant articles, which really is going to be a tax increase. And I think that's why I, as a selectman, will do everything I can to get the correct information, the true information out to the public.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons there's an opposition to me, especially your upper crust, and I'm not ashamed to say it, they don't want me there. Because there's a closed door there, and they don't want the public, you and whoever is watching, to know some of this stuff. And that's why they write up these warrant articles the way they write them up. They candy coat everything.
You mean $1 million here and $1 million there? It adds up?
Yes, yeah. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out to the public and on my TV show, I'm going to continue doing this, and I'm going to say, well, this is what they say, but this is what really is the truth.
Yeah.
And that's what they're scared of. They're very, the opposition, is not happy with my willingness to relay the truth to the taxpayers.
Yeah. How do you feel about the, to grants? Do you have any opposition to grants? I mean,
I do.
higher the tax impact?
No, that's again another, again, I've always told everybody, if you're going to write a letter to the editor about me, write it positive, to my friends that are supporting me. Now, there are a letter to the editors that say I hate grants, we shouldn't even look at any of them, and that's farthest from the truth. If you take a bridge grant, a grant for a generator, and there's no long-term commitment to the federal government, Ivan, I'm all for that. Because how do we fix a $2 million bridge without, the state or, the federal government coming in helping us? We can't.
Yeah.
So we have to look at that. Now, what I'm very impressed with, but then you take Planned Parenthood grant, there was huge strings that were going to strap our children forever. That is what I'm against. I want to protect our children to make sure that they can live in Goffstown without these grants with these strings that are going to bind them today and in the future. But one thing that I was very happy, what was the Monday? It would be the 2nd, March 2nd. Is that a Monday? Selectmen's meeting.
Yeah.
I watched it and I was very impressed. This guy that wants another Rails to Trails grant, he gets up there and he says, oh, hi, I got this grant. It's free money. Well, grants come from you and I, all the money. There's no free money. It all comes from us. The current selectmen, 2 of them, oh, sure. Whoops. Here, just take the money. You can have it.
Yeah.
Take the grant. 3 of the selectmen did the right thing, Ivan. They said, you know what? Why don't we open up this and make sure we aren't getting into something that we don't want to? They even talked about, could we do this with volunteers? So when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what we need from the selectmen. And they performed it last night. And that's why, as me as a selectman, I'm going to encourage that behavior. And when grants come before us, I'm going to say, let's look at them. And if there's no long-term hurt to us or strings that's going to bind us, let's do it.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I mean, when we're involved with bridges and roads, those are kind of like interstate projects. I mean, it's beyond our ability alone, and it is an interstate deal, and that's where federal government can help on projects that involve multiple states. And
Yeah.
boy, I think
Well, look at the, I live down in Litchfield Park.
Yeah.
They brought water down to us,
yeah,
and it was a block grant. You know, the majority of people didn't want the water. I did, you know, so I'm happy to have the water down there. I had to pay half. The federal government paid half, and there's no strings.
Yeah.
So now we got city water. You know, my well water was terrible, but now we have city water, and it's no long-term effect to the city or to the state.
Yeah, I mean, we have so many issues with infrastructure projects, I mean, around the state.
Yes.
And even as a nation, and certainly in town, I mean, our infrastructure is in terrible shape. It's 50 years old,
Yeah.
and boy, I'd rather see money go into that somehow. I'd rather
Yep.
see that than going on, you know, 50% of the federal budget is spent for stuff that involves other countries. I mean, I don't want to get on that tube,
Yes. Yeah.
but we really should be spending that money in town and finding a way to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I've got one of your flyers here. There's a flyer coming out, I understand.
Yeah, it's going to be in Thursday's. You know, probably why this is aired, or what would it be? The 6th, Thursday the 6th, I think is. It's going to be in that. Well, it's going to be in the Sunday News. That's what it is.
Okay.
The Sunday Manchester Union Leader. Yeah. I forgot
And
about it.
if you don't mind me reading it, I think it's really
Yeah.
good. It says, "I am John Burt. I want smaller, more efficient government."
Yep, that's
Is that
it.
true?
Yep.
Being your state representative gives me and you the advantage of knowing what is trickling down the pike from the State House to the Town Hall.
And that's what's going to allow me to do.
Yeah, gives you a huge qualification.
Yeah.
Lowering taxes and protecting private property rights is my primary goal.
Yes.
I never have and never will vote to downshift expenses to the town.
That's right.
Now, this property rights and private property rights, another thing people have been critical of yourself and maybe another group or a group of conservatives. They talk about property rights. Well, my property rights are sacrosanct. I can do anything I want. And these guys say we should do that, and it's because you're connected with a Free Stater project, or there's some alluding to that.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you say about that? Or
Well, you know, I'm a pre-stater, as I tell everybody. I came before the Free Staters came. I came in the late 90s, but I came here for the freedoms.
yeah,
And, you know, that New Hampshire offers. And, you know, I'll be honest with you, Ivan, you know, my choice for like planning board is John Heichel and Mark Warden. That's who I'm voting for. And the reason they're being attacked is their opposition. They want to control your property. And John and Mark do not want to control your property. Yet the opposition says, oh, shame on them. We must have control.
yeah,
Now, if you want to build, you know, a 14 or a 7-unit apartment building on an acre lot behind, you know, in a residential area, you know what, that really affects a lot of people.
yeah.
And that, you know, that needs to be addressed. But they want to, you know, the opposition really wants to control property right down to, you know, where you're going to put your mailbox if they could. And that is none of their business.
Well, and I would think I suspect in our town, I mean, controlling spending and all that's important. But the other side of it is the revenue side, what I call the top line.
Yes.
And broadening the tax base, bringing in good businesses and good locations. I think that would be really important.
Yes. Yep. But we're not going to do it at $27.11 tax rate per 1,000 of your property value. Not when Manchester and Bedford is at 22 plus. It's like 22.40 per 1,000.
Yeah.
Businesses, for one, they already have the highway.
Yes.
We need something else to draw them here. A high tax rate is not going to do it.
Yeah.
So we need to control that tax rate. Do I cut it down to the 22? No, it probably cannot be done that easy. But we can slow the growth down in Goffstown, and then hopefully the other towns will catch up to us, or we can drop a little bit and make more, and then also open our doors for business.
Well, we could put a sign out there that implies, excuse me, business friendly.
Yes.
Because it has been alluded in the past that we're business unfriendly.
Yes.
Like business is a dirty word.
Well, and that's it. Is this past couple years with Mark Warden and John Heichel on the planning board, people are coming to Goffstown and they're saying, "Wow, you guys are friendly." Well, hurry up, because if they don't get reelected, which I know they will, they're going to go back to being unfriendly, because there was a lawyer there, I can't remember his name, but he's running for the planning board. And he says right out, he says, bottom line, he's bottom line said, I don't want businesses here. We need to control it.
Well, let me go on a little further, if you don't mind, just reading from this, because it defines who you are and what you stand for. And this fire is going to be where again?
It's going to be, I'm trying to think where it was going to be. I got so many things going on. It's going to be in the Sunday Manchester Union Leader. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys may want to look for this for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be in the Manchester Union Leader.
Manchester Union Leader, Sunday edition.
In the Goffstown edition.
Goffstown edition.
Yeah, Penardville's different, but I'm going to do a lit drop and try to get those to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
they'll see it on their door.
they'll see it on your door.
Yeah.
Government has a positive role to play in our lives, but it must be a limited one.
Yes.
Grants are fine if they serve a short-term purpose, such as for a generator or bridge repair.
Yep.
However, they need to come with no long-term strings attached.
Yes.
Why am I running for selectman? I am a resident, just like you. I want to serve you and make Goffstown a great place to live. Let me read that again. And make Goffstown a greater place to live than it already is.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
I can line up with that.
Yeah. I mean, we do have a great town, but there's just a section of, a small section of people that want to bring us to more cost. And I'm saying we can get these great services we have at a lower cost.
Yeah.
And we
Got to
can
tighten our belt.
Exactly. I had to do it when I became state rep.
Yeah.
I owned a company in Vermont that I sold. Luckily, at the height of the peak, so I did okay. But when I sold the company, I'm here, and I didn't have to go to Vermont and run the company anymore. So that worked out really well. But I had to tighten my belt in order to become state rep, because to go from a pretty good pay down to $100 a year, it took a lot.
Any of you find yourselves having to tighten your belt?
That's it. That's it.
Any of you, and I'm addressing older folks, and I guess I qualify as an older folk. I have talked to lots of older folks, and they are literally paying more in Goffstown for taxes than they paid for their house
Yes.
a good number of decades ago.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it's all inflation, and in real terms, that house that we're being taxed for, in real terms, it's worth exactly what it was when they bought it in real inflation-adjusted terms.
Yes.
That's extraordinary.
Yeah.
And yet, many people, if they happen to be underwater in their mortgage, if they're on a fixed income, this is devastating, just absolutely devastating. And younger kids going out wanting to buy a house, man, how'd you like to be starting out?
That's it. I just don't understand it. And I mean, you and I served 3 years with you on the budget committee for Goffstown.
Yes.
Are you still on it?
No.
Oh, you're not? Okay.
No.
Yeah.
No, I've got other political ambitions.
Yeah.
And like yourself, I mean, I really feel now, you know, obviously there's two sides to every story. I mean, there's a lot of people who've been promised pensions and promised health care, and that's one group of people, and then there's another group of people that are going to pay for it.
Yes.
And they do not have pensions. They do not have premium health care. And how do you resolve that? I mean, there are two different points of view. I mean, if I had a tremendous pension, if I had health care, if my kids had it, if my children or friends and family worked for the town in the quote-unquote public sector, I mean, what would my position be? You know, it's a toughie. There's no easy answers. And it's about working together and finding a way to make this work for everyone. And I don't think it's going to be easy. It's going to take somebody tough, somebody fearless, and we've got to find a way to come together.
Well, and that's the thing also is, as you've seen, Ivan, in the past, even if I disagree with people on the budget committee, I always was respectful and I got along with everybody.
Yeah, good.
You know, and that is what we have to do.
Yeah.
Well, I am trying to make sure Goffstown does not go down. And people say, oh, it'll never happen. Well, a lot of promises have been made, just like in Detroit. Detroit is bankrupt. Literally, they're legally bankrupt right now. I do not want Goffstown to get there. And at $27.11 a tax rate, we're heading into bankruptcy.
Half the people have left. Half the people have left Detroit. You look at Detroit; it looks like a war zone.
Yeah.
It looks like a World War II bombed out
Yep.
war zone. And General Motors, Ford, the heart of our country, the automotive industry, is gone out of Detroit. That is just staggering in implications. And
It is.
and we've got to wake up to reality, I think.
That's it. And I mean, are we even close to that? Absolutely. Goffstown is not close to it.
No.
But I mean, if we keep going down this spending attitude, which we're in for Goffstown, you know, in a long time, not in 10 years, but let's say 20 years down the road, we're going to be in real big trouble. And all we have to do is tighten our belts today and get used to it and say, you know what, government should be limited. Small government, that's what we need. And we'll survive any crash that happens.
And I'm glad to hear you say you're not going to be antagonistic or anything. You're going to reach out and find ways to work with people.
Yep.
And toward the end here, we got a few minutes here, and we've got a parody that John has produced. So in a few minutes we'll show that. But
the Johnny B. Good.
Johnny B. Good parody.
Yeah, parody. Yeah, I had a lot of fun making it, and I played it once before, and you'll see, Ivan, when you watch it, how blessed my life is. I mean, I'm just the people I meet. The first girls at the beginning, they're from around the world. One's from Russia, one's from India. I mean, they're from all over the world that I meet at the State House. I mean, it's just pretty incredible.
Yeah. Well, you've got another flyer here.
Yeah.
So, John, there's we're going to, in a few minutes, look at the Johnny B. Good parody, but there are other opportunities for voters to meet and talk with you.
Yeah.
So, why don't you give me these times and dates again?
Well,
you're going to be
on Saturday, March 8th.
Yeah, March 8th.
Yeah, I'm going to be at Cody's Diner, and I'm going to, go there and visit with people, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., and, if anybody wants to come and visit me, just go ahead and stop down to Cody's Diner. They got great breakfast down there. And then also the Village Trestle from 11 to 1. And now these restaurants aren't endorsed.
That's the same day.
Yes, and it's the same day. And these restaurants, I want to make sure everybody understands that they're not endorsing me. I just went and asked them. I said, could I use a small function room or a small corner? And, of course, it's a local business. They want business. And I said, what better way to do is meet people on Saturday the 8th.
Yeah, meet and greet, sure.
Yeah. And so, both Village Trestle and Cody's Diner, they said, absolutely, we'd love to have the business here. And thank you very much for thinking about us. And
so you're perfectly willing to be accessible and talk to people? And
yes. And one thing that I've really done too is I keep pushing my phone number out, which I haven't mentioned at all here.
Right?
Yeah, and that's
I was going to.
oh, were you? Okay. 624-5084 is my home phone number, and I want people to have that. Write it on a piece of tape, put it on the side of their refrigerator, because when I'm elected as the next selectman in Goffstown, I want people to have that phone number, because I am going to serve them well.
Yeah. And I'll repeat that one more time. 624-5084.
Yep.
Good number to remember.
Yes,
You're going to be their selectman.
I am.
You represent the people,
Yep. Yep.
not special interests, not corporations, not
No.
somebody from out of state or somebody who has an agenda
Nope.
beyond.
You know, just smaller government and property rights is dear to my heart. That's
Yeah.
what I want for this town. You know, because we're just going down the path of our taxes are getting a little out of control. You know, they're controllable now, but they are getting a little high compared to the other towns, and we need to look at that. And then our freedoms, you know, right down to they wanted to change every. You know, luckily the people spoke, and the selectmen did listen to us on this, but they wanted to change every town road to a 30-mile-an-hour. Well, there's a few roads that, you know, they're nice and straight, and I want to get from point A to point B. If it's 40 miles an hour safe, then we should do it. And luckily the selectmen did say, you know what, we heard from the voters, and that's one thing that I'm going to really hold the selectmen to when I'm sitting with them. I'm going to say, look, you've got to listen to the voters. That's what they're telling us.
Well, this is the live free or die state. I mean, it's on our license plate, and
Yeah.
it's not something. I mean, it's real. It's like a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And if we're not impacting anyone in a negative way, leave them alone.
That's right.
It's freedom.
Yeah.
And when those words were first stated in our country, 1776, and we sent, Goffstown sent 43 people to fight in the Revolution. That what it was all about, living
Yes.
free or die.
Yep.
And, you know, I hope we haven't reached a place now where instead of fighting the British government, we're fighting an out-of-control government of our own. I hope that's not true.
Yes. Yeah, I do too.
So what do you think, John? Anything? We got 1 minute left or something?
Well, I just want to thank you for coming on. I still have a touch of cold in my voice, so I apologize for that. Well, that
Well,
thing's been hanging on for a couple weeks now.
Yeah. Well, we've all had it. I had to clear my throat a couple times. So.
You know, I guess I just want to tell the voters and tell you, Ivan, is, you know, again, thank you very much. But what I'm going to ask of you is March 11th, I'm going to ask for 30 minutes of your time. That's it. 30 minutes to go to the polls from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And if you give me 30 minutes of your time, and that will allow you to get in your car, go down, vote, and go back home. You should be able to do that in 30, 35 minutes. I'll give you 3 years of my time protecting your rights, making sure that every dollar is spent wisely and that our taxes will stay as low as possible, and property rights is what I support. In business, I believe in the private sector supporting our own business. So I want to thank you, and remember, March 11th, please vote John Burt on the selectmen. And if you don't mind, John Heichel and Mark Warden should definitely be, for planning board. And I'm going to vote for James Matthew Butcher for a library trustee, and Ken Nolan on the cemetery trustee. Those are good people that I really believe in.
Yeah, well, thank you for allowing me to contribute. I mean, I really believe in you, so
yes.
I want to thank you. I appreciate it very much. And is it time for Johnny Be Good?
Yeah.
Don't go away. You got to hang in there.
Yeah.
We'll get a couple more laughs. So.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Ivan.
You're welcome.
I'm Representative John Burt of Goffstown.
Deep down in G-Town, close to Manchester, way back by the river brick and wood. Well, lived a country boy named Johnny A. Burt, who never ever learned to read or write so well. He upheld the Constitution and rang the Liberty Bell. Go, 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 Johnny, go, 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 Johnny, go, 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 Johnny, go, 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 Johnny, go, go, Johnny A. Burt. He used to open carry his gun on his hip and take his old tractor out for a trip. The Goffstown folks, they would stop and stare and call out, "Hey Johnny, what have you got there?" He's not afraid to speak out on his TV shows. He's true to his heart, even Santa knows. Ho, ho! Go, Johnny, go, go! Go, Johnny, go, go! Go, Johnny, go, go! Go, Johnny, go, go! Johnny A. Burt. He won't stop fighting till he's over the hill. Many people coming from miles around when he hosts a debate in this little town. His mother always told him, don't embarrass the name, so doing what's right will be his call to fame. Go, 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 Johnny, go, go, go. Go, Johnny, go, go, go. Go, Johnny, go, go. Go, Johnny, go, go, go. Johnny A. Burt.
We had love in the air. Oh, yes, I did.